Good evening and welcome to our first show for 2013. I'm Sky High and you're watching Squeal on Melbourne's Bent TV. As usual, I'm joined by Melbourne's finest array of socialites who will provide their insights into local and international topics that sometimes have us questioning, what the fuck is that about? Firstly, please give it up for Bent TV's very own Remy Shelton. Remy, good evening, welcome.
Good evening and thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for being a part of the panel. Next up, a guy who's lost his dignity as many times as Taylor Swift has fucked Hollywood A-listers. Welcome, Stacey Stewart.
Thanks, Sky. Thanks for having me back.
Thank you. Hopefully you'll be bringing us an insight.
Hope so.
Last but not least, a new panellist for Squeal. He is an acclaimed writer and can often be found sharing his opinion in the gay press. Please welcome John Donnan. John, good evening and welcome.
Hello, Sky. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for being here. We like to talk about technology on Squeal and the value of an expression it brings to people. However, more and more we see on gay social networking sites such as Grindr that some terms that people write can cause offence. I'll give you an example of the term straight acting or lipstick lesbian. Some may claim that their straightness or lipstick femininity is actually not an act, but in fact they're just a naturally masculine guy or a naturally feminine woman. So why do people get so disturbed by these descriptions? John?
Straight to me.
Straight to you.
Thank you, Sky. I'm going to segue right across to the Enough campaign. Enough is a new grassroots campaign to raise awareness about stigma that that can be seen through such social networking sites as Grindr. So you might hear, for example, somebody might question you and say, "Are you clean?" when you're negotiating whether or not you want to hook up. Now, that's insinuating that somebody on the other end or somebody with HIV is actually dirty.
Yes.
So Enough is a campaign which is coming out to say, hey, enough.
What's the driving force behind Enough is Enough?
It's stigma and the effect it has on people living with HIV.
Just specifically for HIV?
It is. Enough is, yes, but anybody can actually become engaged with the campaign. There's a website that www.org.au, so anybody can jump on and join the website, put their name to the Enough campaign, and also upload their own stories onto there.
Excellent. Thank you.
You might like to wear... or at least have your Enough sunglasses too. They're going to be all over town this summer, so keep your eye out for them.
Yay, giveaways.
Very stylish. Remy, why do you find it offensive, if you do, the word straight acting?
I actually, terms, basically, I try and move away from terms now because I'm looking for something and I'm just trying to figure out whether their term is right or not. And somebody can say straight acting and you can ask, well, does that mean that you have sex with ladies? Which I guess is not the point. I guess my take on it is I like to go onto sites and look at international links because there's like particularly one guy, I think he's Italian, and he goes, I have no time for silly people. And I'm like,
so that's a label within itself. He's a silly person.
Yeah, well, I think he's trying to say time wasters. You know, but you get like no fats, no femmes, no etc., etc. Yeah.
And this is what we're commonly finding: no fats, no femmes, straight acting, and these are, I guess, offensive terms.
Yeah, and I find it so if I've got a profile, I find it clearer to stipulate what I'm looking for, not what I won't have, but what I'm looking for.
So you think that being direct whilst labelling is the most appropriate use of your time?
Yeah, basically I'm looking for David Hasselhoff, and nothing else will do. It's clear, it's what you want.
Excellent. Stacey?
I don't find it offensive that people admit to what they want. If they're not into Asian men, then why not say I don't like Asians? Like, there's no nice way of putting it, or I don't like overweight people. Like, I just think it's...
But some people do take it to an extreme. No Asians, no fatties. You know, they list exactly
but you know what, the
certain terms
places like Grindr and stuff like that, like, you're clicking a link that says... You're clicking something that says, I don't like I like straight acting, or, like, there's links that you actually click. It's not you typing in the stuff most of the time, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, it says no femmes, like, the word's already there for you.
Would you...
Because it's what everybody knows, pretty much.
Consider yourself straight acting, or would you prefer masculine?
I dance delicately on
or particularly effeminate.
It depends, it depends. If I'm out in the pub, one thing. If I've got my legs between my head, it's a totally different thing. So
can you still be straight acting, though, with your legs over your head?
I've never tried, I guess.
Excuse me, I can ask someone who can. Stacey?
Thank you. I think it all depends. Like, I think I'm pretty straight acting, but after I've had a few wines or something, I think I can get really gay, so... Depends on the environment I'm in. I'm probably a lot gayer around my gay friends than I am with my straight friends. So
and do you think that has something to do with
the environment sometimes?
Exactly. Do you think it's our environment that makes us more straight acting or less straight acting?
It's a funny term. Like, go on, Stacey.
Well, I'm not going to walk into a sports bar where it's full of men and be over the top gay. Like, it's just the way I'm. It's just me, I guess. But like, if I'm in a gay bar, I'm going to dance like an idiot and just be comfortable. Do you know what I mean?
And I don't think it's always as black and white, because I mean, I know people who are affected effeminate. So in other words, they've taken it on as part of their gay identity, as part of their career. I mean, you know, they're really blokey guys when they're 18, etc. They come out suddenly, it's like, sweetie, how you doing? And I
think that's society conditioning us that that's how we must be as gay. The older you get, the more effeminate or the labelling comes into effect.
Sure, but I've also met guys who are really just the sweetest campus things.
Yeah.
Not all of them gay, actually. I've met a number of very camp straight men, you know, and they get labelled as well.
So does metrosexual present an offensive term as well for those who, you know, are nice and buff and shaved and are looking good? The ones that we may, as a community, identify as being gay.
John?
I think we need to be careful of the potential internalised homophobia of when people are saying, I'm straight acting, and it's almost again stigmatising perhaps somebody who is more flamboyant and saying, well, you're not a real man because you're all woo, and by saying that I'm straight acting, I only want a tradie and a tough guy.
Is that what we think of, though, when we think straight acting? We think of the macho, masculine, muscular.
Isn't that what they're trying to set themselves up for by using that term?
When I think of straight acting, I think of someone that's maybe married and hiding their identity. That's just what I think.
But look, I mean, obviously we don't want to stigmatise people, but there also needs to be an easy categorising system so that you know what you can get to and what you want. Because if you have to have an in-depth discussion with everyone that you come across, it's very time-consuming.
No, it is, and I think that people have the right to make their own labels. I just think there's a lot of stereotypes between masculinity and straight acting.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably where most of the offence actually does come from.
Yeah.
I think everyone has an opinion on that. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to Squeal on Melbourne Spent TV. It's an all too common scenario where a straight girl may be sitting at home drinking wine with her gay BFF, perhaps after her boyfriend has just been a jerk, and she's talking about boyfriend issues, sex, shopping and shoes. Is it a misconception brought on by the influence of the media that a friendship between a straight girl and a gay guy means that they have a stronger bond or perhaps a deeper relationship than that of a same-sex friend or indeed their other straight friendships? With that in mind, why isn't the same depth of friendship commonly conveyed by the media showing same dynamics between a straight man and a lesbian? So off the top of my head, I can think of 2, maybe 3 straight girl, gay guy relationships. Why don't we see it in reverse? Or do we?
Well, I think that well, I mean, because I spend a lot of time with lesbians, and I see a lot of it, actually.
Do you?
Yeah.
Anyone famous? Anyone that, you know, you could just think...
Well, no, because I don't spend that much time with famous people, apart from yourself, of course.
Of course. But in the media, this is how it's portrayed.
No, I never watched The L Word. See, and this is why I think that the relationship works, right? Because it's about who you date. So, in other words, straight girls and gay guys will dish about guys. And straight guys and lesbians talk about chicks. And that's why those relationships are formed. So to see that relationship, I would have to watch more lesbian kind of media. And I don't. I probably
but
ought
that's
to.
the point. That's lesbian media. Think about Sex and the City. Carrie Bradshaw, Stanford. You know, that kind of relationship. And there's Megan Gale and the one who's not gay. Which I won't mention his name, but that's in today's media. You know, so why don't we have the straight male and lesbian?
Did you watch Ellen? Not the show, not the talk show, but her sitcom.
Off and on.
Yeah. Well, she had a lot of straight guys there, and she always had a straight guy buddy.
So it does happen.
Oh yeah. I've definitely seen it.
Stacey?
I've never actually seen it myself, but obviously it happens because Ellen in real life has a lot of celebrity male friends, but
Why don't we ever see them hanging out?
Because they don't hang out with Helen.
we don't live in Los Angeles.
We don't, but again, I say it's all over the tabloids, it's all over the newspapers, that we always see the straight girl with the gay guy.
I never find myself in the lesbian community, which is a bit strange.
And again,
actually,
that's
but,
my point, because
But that's probably just me. I don't have very many lesbian friends, probably not even one, to be honest.
I would posit the argument that this may not be the best panel.
Yeah.
but we're all
a
gay,
lesbian.
obviously.
But we're not, because, there's different groupings of it. Look, in the media, you will see a lot more lady action than guy action. So you'll watch Will and Grace, but you'll see Willow and her boring girlfriend Tara get it together on Buffy. So it's kind of what's socially acceptable, and it's not a relationship that yet has put itself too much in the social media. The lesbian and the dyke Mike, or sometimes I think it's referred to as the dyke dog. Maybe that's local. Dyke dog. Yeah. So it's not as prevalent. But
was there? And I'm probably doing myself no justice here. Was there a lesbian character in Will and Grace? Apart from Karen.
Karen would get a bit drunk.
Karen was just like pansexual, she's whatever. But I mean, there were lesbians, but not a recurring character.
But there was no alliances formed between the lesbian and the straight male. And one thing that you've all highlighted is that, yes, in the lesbian media, but I'm not talking about lesbian media,
No.
I'm talking about mainstream society.
Well, there's a sitcom waiting to be written, Sky.
Really? What's that about?
A lesbian with a straight best friend.
Yeah. I think it's called Ellen. I keep going back. It's happened.
So
it's already
that's
done.
one. Are you saying that there's not as many gay men with BFF straight females?
Okay, so let's have a think. So in the American Queer as Folk, did they have a straight male character that was a friend? No, I guess it was mostly all the queers getting together.
Correct.
So you don't see it as often. That's correct. But I don't think it doesn't happen. Why is this of import to you? I'm just wondering.
No, you know what, I think it's very interesting because we're so conditioned by media and by society and what's shown on television. I think that as a community we need to have that equality.
There is a lot of conversations about how straight girls have gay friends. There's not really the other. Like, I can understand where you're coming from. Like, we don't talk a lot about lesbians and straight guys hanging out, but we always talk about gay men and straight girls hanging out and talking about their boyfriends, like you said, breaking up and the sex and stuff like that. But
I actually like this. Sorry, John, you were.
Is there an uncertainty, perhaps, with the media of portraying or having a lead character who is a lesbian? Because gay men, in particular, are the fancy pants. What we were speaking about before in the last segment about being flamboyant makes great TV. Are they still, is the lesbian as a lead character still the next step that we need to be taking?
So do you think that's what we're missing on television? Apart from Ellen?
I guess it depends what kind of forum you're talking about. If you're talking about comedy, comedy usually works with stereotypes. So it's funnier for a generalised audience to see a very camp gay man and a very butched up dyke or power lesbian. So that's what we tend to go with. And if we seem to be talking about stereotypes and things that today. So that's what is socially acceptable. You are seeing, I think, a changing of perceptions of our roles. You're seeing, like, Ellen's, I mean, she wears a vest and stuff like that, but she's not particularly butchy or blue.
I wouldn't say that she was a butchy kind of lesbian.
Exactly.
No.
And so some of the Fab Five back on Queer Eye, they were not the gayest thing in the world. Or they used power tools, which I thought was really great and I really found exciting.
We all use power tools. On this side of the table. Sorry.
Not those
We're
sort
talking
of,
about long 9-inch power tools?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry,
But
continue.
what was interesting, I lived in Holland for a while there, and they have been sort of very pro civil rights for a very long time. And I've got this theory that the more uptight a place is, the camper the queers are, because I think it's repressed, and so they have to find more of an identity. Whereas there, everyone was like an accountant. It was really boring, and there are a lot of really. I mean, it was actually kind of really hot because they're like really not straight acting, very, very masculine and having that part of their persona, as well as using, skincare products. So I think we're seeing
So
Metro.
Hot Metro.
Yeah.
So is that what we think we need to see on television? Some big butch dyke, for want of a better term?
I don't think we need to see it, but
Why not, though?
it wouldn't bother me if
so
it was on
many-
TV, but I don't think we need to.
I think the only place we do see them is on home renovation shows or vet TV shows.
Yeah, we've-
Oh
Super
no!
vets.
There's a
They're all
high
pretty
content
girls.
now in Pop Idol, X Factor, etc. By the way, I'm sure some people were going to want to write in and comment on this panel discussion. So we'll give you the email address for that a little bit later on, because some of the terms that we've been using are not cool.
That's why you tune in. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back. I'm Sky High, and if you've just joined us, we've been debating such topics as the perception within the media, along with those who are offended by what other people in our community stereotype them as. Speaking of stereotyping and misconceptions, I quickly want to ask our panel their personal opinions on what they believe to be one misconception amongst not only the GLBTIQ community, but society as a whole, about how we live our lives and what impact this has on others. Starting with John.
Starting with me.
Coming back
Sorry,
to you,
Mike.
Remy. So you can have some time to think about it, because I think Stacey's mind is ticking over as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a little demonstration, okay? This is because we're talking about stereotypes and how people are reacted. Okay, so here we go. Here's my profile. Straight acting, femme, fashion conscious. So one person can be a number of different things. I mean, depending on who I'm with, I camp up, I butch down, all of that sort of stuff. But if you're going to say one misconception about the LGBTIQ, alphabet soup community, I think still bisexuality, or actually non-binary is something that's still a problem. So in other words, people who are transgender, or people who are, we call them bisexual, but let's say transsexual. So, we always want to make this decision of you have to be one or the other, and that's just not true. And we don't have space in our community, or the general community doesn't seem to have space for that.
And I agree. I think that's mine as well. Mine is we are not just one or the other. There is a myriad. So, John, I put it back to you.
I've got my mind back.
Welcome,
It
mine.
was floating away somewhere. I think that being a part of the GLBTIQ community is that people think we're different, and we're classed or judged as being different, and even that label is stereotyping us by our sexuality and not all the amazing other things that we bring to the world and bring to culture and to society. And yes, I love being different. I love being gay, and I love being a part of the GLBTIQ community. However, in the broader context of society, we're not different. We're just regular, everyday citizens going about with our lives and contributing to building society into what it is.
Excellent. Thank you, Stacey.
What I would say is, only by just doing the show a few times already, I'm not a big part of the community. I kind of just live my life and go to the odd gay club, just do my job. But now, I don't need to be a part of the community, even though I can be. I know the community's there, and just in the few shows that I've done, I've learnt so much. So I kind of think I probably need to make more of an effort to be part of the community, so I understand a lot more.
So
Because
it's really a case of same, no different.
Yeah, well,
Or different,
there's
different
just a lot of
message.
stuff that I don't know about gay life when I'm actually a gay man, which is strange, and people think that just because I'm gay I should know about that, but I don't.
And sorry, no, go ahead.
Because can I add on to that? Because not only, I think the other thing that we do is that we think that because we are a gay man, a gay woman, etc., that we are the expert on everyone in our community. And it's like, oh, no, lesbians do this. Oh, no, gays do this. And it's like, no, unless you're really living that person's life, you can't really know. I mean, I guess we get some ideas, and more time that we spend with each other. Yeah, but stop being like, the judge and jury of everything that's queer.
Yeah.
That leads me into our last segment for the show. We are overwhelmed by the feedback that we've received from our viewers once Squeal had aired. I thought I'd take a moment to relay some of the feedback to you personally and thank you for taking the time to let us know what you think. Firstly, after our last show for 2012 aired Squeal Ladies, where we saw Tabitha, Amelia, Sammy and Greer discussing diversity, homophobia and transphobia within our community, we received many emails and even Facebook posts from people who didn't realise to the extent of how rife it was within our community. I'd like to share some snippets of the feedback. A Facebook post wrote, "Hi Greer, I find it sad that the expectation is for the greater community to politely ignore a transgender individual. I hope that Melbourne can move on and openly accept transgender people as they are doing with gays and lesbians." Another email that we received. "As a lesbian myself, I have to say, what a friggin' freak show are you putting on? Just because we are different from the normal, does that mean that you have the right to act like a clown? Sexuality is a very personal thing. The fact that you people feel you need to be so ugly overtly proves that you are not even comfortable within your own sexuality. It's people like you that overdress, act camp and rubbing it in other people's faces that makes our difference to be seen as perverted. No wonder people want to bash us. Because it's people like you that are the cause of that. Do you not have any pride or decency? Can you give the rest of us a break?" And finally, a 39-year-old man who is straight, but when younger worked the streets as a male prostitute. I watched a show titled Squeal Ladies, and I actually did take note of what Sammy was saying about gays, lesbians, transvestites and transgendered persons being victimised. I will say that many times myself or other workers have been assaulted by faggot bashers, but little did they know that I was only doing this sort of work to support my drug use. I think the general population is becoming more accepting of same-sex couples and sometimes even same-sex affection shown by two guys or two girls walking down the street holding hands. These same-sex couples or even trannies, and he stated, please don't take offence to this, should be left alone and treated like any other normal person, and we should turn the other cheek as this behaviour is acceptable. Julia Buzzkill Gillard should open her eyes and legalise same-sex marriage for those same-sex couples who love each other just as much as a guy or a girl. Keep up the great work you do as volunteers, and thank you for taking the time to produce such a show from a straight guy who appreciates people. Also, for the 20+ tweets that we received praising the panel on providing true topical information not only to the GLBTIQ community, but for educating the greater community about issues that we see in people that they need to face day to day. As you can see, just by the one show alone, the reaction of some episodes that were shown on Bent TV vary from person to person, depending on the individual's own beliefs. I firmly believe that people are entitled to their own opinion, and I'm not here to preach or judge, and I certainly encourage constructive feedback, good, bad or ugly. Given that it is 2013, with all the acknowledgement and empowerment that is presented to us, we still have gay, lesbian and straight people, albeit becoming the minority, in society who can't or won't embrace indifference. Pride or diversity, if gay and lesbian, bisexual and transgendered people jump back into our closets, or perhaps we stop dressing in drag, or maybe undergo electroshock therapy, does that mean we're going to stop the gay bashings from happening? Or will we stop the increasing youth suicide rate? Or take the stigma out of being HIV positive as a gay disease? No, it doesn't. We need to stand together as a society for the equality and acceptance that all human beings have. Aren't we all responsible for positively contributing to a richer way of life, regardless of the sexual preference we choose? I'm sure I speak on behalf of the entire panel here today that we should all be celebrating our sexuality and sexual diversity in order to stand proud of who we are and where we've come from, regardless of our sexual orientation, no matter how much of a freak you think I may be. For further information on anything on tonight's show, or to find out about support groups that you'd like to know more about, please send us your feedback to feedback@benttv.org.au. And don't forget to check out the Bent TV website, www.benttv.org.au. Alternatively, you can follow me on Twitter @MissHighSky or like me on Facebook, facebook.com/MissHighSky. Thank you to our panel tonight, Remy, Stacey and John. And a big thank you at all for home for watching. I'm Sky High. Until we meet again, thanks for your company and good night.